There is a kind of love that doesn't make announcements. It doesn't declare itself loudly or require an audience. It shows up in the same way year after year, in the small, consistent acts that say, more plainly than any declaration, "You matter to me. I haven't forgotten. I'm still here." Johnny Carson spent 30 years as the host of The Tonight Show, 30 years as the last face America saw before going to sleep, the man who set the tone, who made the late hour feel warm and safe and familiar. He was extraordinary at it. Not just talented in the technical sense, though the technical skill was real and rare, but genuinely good at the specific thing the show required: the ability to be present with another person in front of a live audience, to listen as though what they were saying was the most interesting thing he'd heard all day, to make someone feel comfortable and funny and seen. Night after night, for 30 years, he made it look effortless. It was not. What was less visible, what the audience that loved him so genuinely never quite saw, was how private he was outside the studio. He had a famous reluctance to be known in the way that public figures are now expected to be known: the personal details, the family stories, the continuous self-exposure that modern celebrity requires. He kept his private life private. Not out of coldness. People who knew him well described a warmth and a humor that was genuine and considerable. But out of something closer to dignity. A sense that what was his, that the nightly performance of warmth was not the same thing as the private expression of it, and that the private expression was for the people who deserved it, the small circle who knew him actually, rather than the large audience who knew the host. He was, by his own occasional admission, not always easy to be close to. The privacy that was a kind of dignity in the public context could become a kind of distance in the private one. The marriages, there were 3 of them, and each ended, reflected, among other things, the difficulty of being genuinely close to a person who was very careful about what he let in and what he let out. He understood this in his more honest moments. He said in various interviews across the years that he had been better at performing warmth than at expressing it, that the nightly ease he brought to the couch, the quick laugh, the sympathetic response, the sense of effortless connection, had been worked for so hard for so long that the actual, private, vulnerable version of connection had sometimes been left behind. But there were things he did, consistent things that cut against the image of the man who kept everyone at a comfortable distance. Among them was a practice so simple that it barely seems worth mentioning, except that the people who knew about it found it enormously touching. Every year, on specific birthdays and anniversaries that mattered, his sons' birthdays, the anniversaries of losses, the dates that carried weight in the private history of his family, he called. Always. Without fail. Not a long call, sometimes just a few minutes, but the call, the specific acknowledgement that the day was one he had marked, that he remembered, that whoever was on the other end of the line was present in his calendar of what mattered. You don't forget. That's what the call said. Every year. You don't forget. That small, consistent message, delivered not once but year after year, is one of the most powerful things a person can offer the people they love. Not the grand gesture, though those have their place, but the regular, reliable, predictable expression of, "I know this day is meaningful to you. I marked it. I called. I'm here." Maybe there are people in your own life waiting for that call. Not necessarily literally, though a phone call is often the right form. But the underlying thing, the regular, reliable acknowledgement that a specific person, and what is specific to them, lives in your awareness. That you haven't forgotten. That the date they care about is a date you care about, too. That they are present in your mind in a specific enough way that their anniversary, or their birthday, or the day that has weight for them, has weight for you, too. That kind of remembering, the specific, attentive year after year kind, is one of the most intimate things one person can offer another. It says, "I know enough about you to know which days matter. I keep track of those days. I show up on them. And I will keep showing up because you are worth that specific, regular, unhurried attention." Most of us, if we're honest, are inconsistent about this. We mean to remember. We feel the warmth, in general, toward the people we love. But the specific remembering, the calendar marked, the call made, the actual showing up on the day that has weight, this is harder to maintain. The days go quickly. The schedule fills. The dates slip past, and then it's a day later, and then a week, and the window of the specific moment has closed without the call being made. And the person on the other side, who may or may not have expected the call, who may not have been counting on it, notices in a quiet way that the day passed without acknowledgement. And they carry that small noticing forward. Johnny Carson made the call. Whatever else was complicated or imperfect or incomplete about his private life, and, like most long lives, there was plenty, this one thing was consistent. The dates mattered. He marked them. He showed up on them. And the people who received those calls, his sons, the few friends who were truly close, remembered them as evidence of something real, not the grand declaration of love, just the call, every year, without fail, which was, in its own way, more than enough. Is there someone who deserves a call this week? Not because a specific date has arrived, but because you have been meaning to reach out. Because the warmth you feel for this person is real, and it has been in the background of your ordinary days, and it has not yet found its way into an actual call, or a message, or a moment of direct acknowledgement. Maybe this is the week to close that distance. Not with anything large, just with the call itself. The simple, specific, unhurried expression of, "I'm thinking of you. You matter. I called." And then, next year, and the year after that, maybe mark the date. Build it in. Make it the thing you do, consistently, because you have decided that this person deserves to be remembered on the days that matter to them. That is what Johnny Carson did. Quietly, privately, without announcing it. Just the call. Every year. And the steady accumulation of those calls, year after year, was a form of love that required no great ceremony and no great courage. Only consistency. Only the willingness to show up in the small, specific way on the days that matter. So take a slow breath, and maybe, this week, make the call to whoever deserves to hear your voice saying, "I know this day matters. I marked it. I'm here." That is the kind of love that lasts, not because it is loud, but because it is consistent. And consistency, in love, is everything. There is one more thing worth saying about the call, about what it does for the person who makes it, not just the person who receives it. Because most of us, when we think about reaching out to someone we love, think about the effect on them, about whether they'll want the call, whether the timing is right, whether we have the right words. We think about their experience. We almost never think about our own. But making the call, the actual act of picking up the phone and dialing and saying, "I was thinking of you," changes something in the person who makes it. It closes a loop that has been quietly open. The warmth you've been carrying in the background, silently, in the form of a thought that has not yet become a word, it becomes a word. And in becoming a word, it becomes more real, not just for the person who receives it, for you. The love you express is more fully yours than the love you keep, not because the keeping makes it less real, but because the expressing makes it complete. It closes the distance between the feeling and the saying. And that closure, that sense of completeness, of having offered the thing rather than simply carried it, is its own form of peace. The particular peace of not having left things unsaid. Johnny Carson made the call every year, and the peace that comes from that consistency, from never having to wonder whether the people who mattered knew that they mattered, is something he built, deliberately, one call at a time. You can build the same thing, one call at a time. Starting this week, with whoever is waiting on the other side of a warmth you have been carrying without quite expressing. Make the call. Say the thing. Close the distance. That is the love that lasts, because it was said.